Welcome, everybody, to a very different type of webinar that what you are used to here. It was a couple of months ago, talking to Matt Speer here at Be Heard, and really understanding what propertymanagement.com is doing out in the industry. And I just want to say that we really believe in this. I think that what propertymanagement.com is doing is providing a way to make highly contextual decisions on what your vendor decision should be, like who you should work with, whether it's going to work for you specifically. And in reality, the state of the industry right now is there's all these vendors, there's all these noise around AI, and everything just kind of like starts to sound the same. So we go to our buddy, we go to our friend, and we say, "Hey, what are you using?" And that may or may work for them and may or may not work for you, but it turns into a popularity contest. I think propertymanagement.com has created a way that it makes it much more objective, much more data driven and reviews driven across the board, that is decentralizes kind of like the influence of people speaking about this. And on top of that, Matt has this vision of turning this into esports. And that's what we're doing here today in this like challenge of opening the kimono for Matt and propertymanagement.com so that we can be the first ones to do the esport of property management technology providers. I'll introduce the guys that are here. I'll start with David Norman, who is the soul of our product here at Vendoroo. He's the guy that has all the pain receipts, that has been trying to solve this problem for the last 20 years of how do we actually drive maintenance in a way that is suitable to the human being and allows you to control everything that's happening. David, you want to say hi and just say kind of like what your objective for today's esports propertymanagement.com game is?
Yeah, for sure. Hey, everybody. Good to see familiar faces and new faces that are joining us. I will never not take an opportunity. First of all, I got to meet with Matt yesterday. First time I got to meet with him, and just understanding somebody that has such a shared passion for, I think, in the similar space of just elevating the experience and by helping attracting more people to the industry as a whole by bringing visibility into the things that we do best in this industry. And that's what I'm here to use Rue to help highlight how Rue is the best operator and how our clients and how people can use this to help to attract new business and grow door accounts. And I think that's just a great way for everybody to be a partner together. So I'm really excited with the synergy with Matt. So that's what I'm here
Awesome.
for today.
Awesome. And we got Matt Speer, who is I would, the first thing I would say about him is he's a visionary CEO. He had this vision of buying a domain for a couple of $1 million with this like big audacious goal of becoming the Carfax of the industry, also an operator in the property management space, also into the technology and like all that good stuff. And really, really excited to have you, Matt. You're gonna be the judge today. Matt Spear, say hello. You want to talk about what you're trying to get out of today's call?
Yeah, I mean, I think you guys have nailed it. I think the big thing for me is I just want to be able to dig in and understand exactly what the product actually does. Like the esports angle, I think is super interesting. You go to like a conference and you get all these, people talking about tools and AI and all these things that are happening, but let's actually see what it can do. I think that's exciting.
Got it. Okay. And my name is Pablo Gonzalez. I'm the chief evangelist at Vendoroo. My role today is to ask the dumb questions, right? If I see these guys getting too nerdy and I got to zoom it out to like, hey, what am I supposed to learn from this thing? That's going to be my role today. But I encourage you to check in the chat. Would love to see who's here, where you're calling in, what you're trying to get out of this call. If you want me to ask a question, use the Q&A function, right? Because the chat's probably going to be like pretty hectic, but if you put in that Q&A function, I'll try to work it in here into the conversation. But apart from that, this is David. You're talking to Matt. David, take it over, my friend.
Cool. Awesome. Well, great. Well, Matt, first of all, we were talking about yesterday, and again, for any new people that are joining here, I have passion about this project that we're working on because I've been in the operator space for 20 years. I started off, Matt and I actually found it very interesting. We both had a kind of almost a similar kickoff into the property management space. I got asked by a friend of mine who opened up a property management company when he hit about 75 or 80 doors to help him out with leasing. And then the next thing you know, I became the director of operations for him, and we grew it from 80 doors to 600 doors in just over 4 years. And Matt's like, I got into leasing with like at 80 doors with my buddy, and that was my intro. So we kind of had this similar entry into the property management space. I went on to do some really cool work for Fannie Mae for a number of years, managing their foreclosed rental portfolio, and then spent a great chunk of my rest of my career in the REIT space, big institutions, 10, 20, 30,000 door portfolios doing maintenance logistics for people until I just came to the point where I was like, hey man, I'm a control freak, I'm an operator, and I just think that there's a lot of other people out there that are just struggling to like really latch onto a tool that's just going to help me be everywhere at once. So Matt, really excited about joining with you today and having that shared backgrounds, and looking forward to jumping in here with you. So I guess at the foundation of what the challenge is that I was really trying to solve for myself, that I think is really resonating with everybody who's using Roo, I wasn't solving workflows. I was doing workflows 10, 15, 20 years ago, right? Like I used to call it the FedEx method, that I was doing workflows. And what I was trying to solve is the duplication of myself, right? Like how can I be everywhere? I'm a control freak and I just needed to feel like I needed to be everywhere. I tell a story a lot of time that I used to have like 50 maintenance coordinators, and they offered me an office and I said, nope, put me right in the middle of everybody in the cubicle because like I need to be everywhere and to see what's going on. So kind of just want to jump into a little bit about where we are on that journey, and just kind of this is how I start off and show people with what's going on about duplication of oneself and Roo turning into the total operator. And if you think about all the noise that we face in maintenance on a daily basis, we're looking at a client right now, okay? And think about how calm everything is. This client has just under 1,000 doors, okay? They have 144 open work orders. We'll talk about why they only have 144 open work orders in a minute. Today, their maintenance team has one item that Roo, the operator, is asking them to do because Roo has everything else handled. Okay, right? That's the sum of what Roo has achieved today through the duplication of being an operator.
Can I jump in?
Yeah,
When am I allowed? I'm just going to jump into it. So,
yeah, let's go.
what's the difference? And tell me if this is wrong. So, kind of coming into this, I think that the story I've heard about Vendoroo is that it's a product that, instead of being a tool that helps you run your maintenance, it's running your maintenance.
Correct.
And so I see one unresolved escalation. So when does the human step in? Like, so this is 1,000 door. There's like so many questions. So it's like 1,000 door company.
Yeah.
Like, what's their maintenance team look like? Like, how many people are involved in running this, and how do those people interact with Vendoroo and Roo here?
Yeah. So right now they have one dedicated person who's in charge of managing Roo. Okay. Which is in essence one person that is really in charge of making sure that maintenance is performing on their entire portfolio. Okay.
And is
Now,
that a like, what's the persona of that person? Like, is that a in-office US based maintenance like experienced manager that's like run a handyman company or something, or is it a overseas team member? Like, who is that person typically?
yeah, I see this vary. Sometimes it's just the director of operations. I know one guy, he's called the director of operations. He's got 1,000 doors. He runs it all by himself now. They used to have assistants or VAs that they no longer are using specifically. Some other companies, I know some, and I work with them, very talented, maintenance coordinators that are remote, right? That are, either, some are in Mexico or Colombia, or somebody that's remote in the States that are also just at the dedicated point. So that person just really needs to have like knows how to run maintenance, and so it's not really like a set. They don't have to be in the office or in house. So I see both remote and in office people as the point of contact.
Okay, I've got a lot more questions. I'll let you keep rolling, but
No,
I'll just
no,
keep jumping in.
no, keep going. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, so what else is on your mind? I'm here to answer your questions. I can take you on the typical flow. I want to hear what you're thinking.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I think the first thing that jumps to my mind is like we're looking at an account that's set up that has some history in the context of like, all right, they're like 1,000 door company and they've been operating maintenance. The
Mm-hmm.
reality is that a company that would start with Vendoroo is probably thinking of like, oh man, like I need to switch my entire process over to Vendoroo. So like, how would one even get started? Like what's that whole
I
onboarding
love that, right?
process, knowledge base? Like how does all that work? Because that's
Yeah,
probably the thing that we could easily just skip over and get into the
yeah, yeah, for
once
sure.
it's
So
set
right.
up.
So in that journey of like finding out a way to duplicate myself, I knew that there was a couple of things that were really important, right? And the first thing was, first of all, context. Okay, like something that understands actually how to run a maintenance department. A traditional SaaS platform doesn't know how to run a maintenance department. It knows how you to plug in workflows. Okay. So, I actually got a comment from a client today, and we're going to lead into implementation here. And the wow factor for them was they were really worried about implementing a new product into their business. And they were shocked that when they turned it on and they all sat down, Rue was just working. And I said, yeah, because that's an operator. Like when it comes to first aid, it knows how to run maintenance. It's just going to get in and start like troubleshooting and triaging and doing all that stuff. You don't have to teach it all that, but then it's going to start asking you, and you can start massaging it and building that out. So let's just take a look at some of the things that happen in implementation that really stand out. Okay. So let me just move this down here for a second. All right.
Yeah. I'd love to go like from implementation into, okay,
Yeah.
now a work order comes through. What's that look like? But yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
just going to keep jumping in. So I'll let you roll.
Nope, that's cool. So the first thing that Rue is going to do, okay, is Rue is going to gather all of your information, your leases, your policies, extract all your vendor information and everything. And what Rue is great at, because it's an expert operator, is it stacks everything up against the best maintenance operators in the space, Rue, all the companies it's working, and it's letting you know, hey, listen, if I came into your business and I'm going to run peak automation, here's the first things when I'm pulling all your data that's showing you that I have gaps or I need information from you, you just go in and fill these out for me. So Rue makes it super simple. So there's no guessing. And you can also just use Rue's best practices. Like you're like, I don't know if I want to go through all my policies. Well, Rue's like, all right, cool. Like I already know what all the best policies are. I can just drop them into your file for you. We can get running and maybe make a couple little adjustments. I need to know about your vendor knowledge, right? But a really cool thing that Rue does is that when it goes into your system and it extracts out all of your active vendors and it organizes them for you, right? A lot of people for the first time, they're like, oh, wow, like I didn't realize that A, I have gaps, or B, I actually had those many vendors. Like that's good to know. I
Yeah.
hear that so much, right? And
I
so
feel
Ruth's
it.
like,
Yeah,
okay,
sorry to interrupt you. One
no,
quick
always
comment
a
on that.
pro.
Like it just is like triggering my past mindset when I was running my property management business. And I think we felt that just, I just like felt it when you said it, when I was like, looking at handy person there. It's like, I feel like we needed 3 or 4 times as many handymen than we actually had, but I think I'm just now realizing that as I'm seeing it just organized in a list of how many vendors in each category. And so is that does it make suggestions of like where the gaps are, like how many more people need to be added based on that like benchmark data that you have? Or is it a little more subtle than that? It's, hey, you've got 2 people assigned and you've got more work orders coming in, you should add someone. Like, is it like proactive with the data, or is it kind of reactive to like, hey, here's some
It's
suggestions
both.
based on what we're
And
seeing?
so we'll pause the proactive for a minute, and then we'll talk about like in the very beginning. So right in the beginning, if you didn't have all of your go-to vendors, you see that this client is 100%. It knows all the categories that a property manager needs to have in order to cover the work types that we're dealing on every daily basis. And so when somebody puts that in, it immediately flags and it's like, hey, for example, like I notice a lot of people, I'm not sure why, a lot of people are missing a dedicated resource for somebody to do router work for backup sewer lines, right? Rue flags that one all the time. It's the
Yeah,
most common one.
that's a big Midwest challenge.
Yeah,
Those clay
yeah,
pipes. Yeah.
yeah. It's the flags it all the time. Or, maybe there's not a pest service control somebody or something along that line. So yeah, so Rue lets you know right away, hey, you don't have these people, and let's get those people, make sure they get onboarded. Yeah.
And then are you onboarding? So do you onboard the actual techs and vendors into the system? Is that part of that process? Like I assume they need to be, for
Yeah,
the AI
we do
agent to.
not. We do have a program that people can. We have like a marketing program that people can say, hey, for it's actually very affordable for X amount of dollars. I would like you to run 14 days of like local, the local chat places where these vendors hang out, ads. These are all the criteria of people that I look like. And on day 7, they get provided with a list of people that meet those needs and criteria. And on day 14, and then that property manager is able then to speak with them and interview them and then bring them on. So that's the
Well,
level that we provide.
yeah. I guess I meant more so like let's say I signed up for Vendor today, 1,000 door company in Indianapolis, and I've got
Mhm.
my vendor network. We do a little bit of handyman stuff in house. Everything else is third party. When I sign up, do I work with someone on your team to get my third party vendors like onboarded, or when there's a work request, it's like sending out to the right person and they're able to accept it. And I assume there's like that side of it.
Yeah, all these vendors, most of people's vendors are 1099. We do work with a lot of people of in-house, but it's pulling all those 1099 vendors, already knows who they are from your PMS system, and it knows who
Ah,
you're
got
in.
you.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah,
Ah, so they're already there. That makes a ton of
yeah.
sense. So you're like, if it's like Appfolio or something, you guys are like logging in as a user, or Rentvine, you're logging in as a user to like basically your Vendoroo is the team member adding on to the account that you're already using.
There it is. And then it goes in, pulls out all your vendors, organizes it. And then what the cool part about it in the onboarding is really Rue does all the heavy lifting, organizes your vendors, pulls your leases in, your policies. And basically, once it has all that information as an operator, it can get to work, right? It's working, right? It's knowing how to troubleshoot and triage and the vendors who need to go. But Rue really understands as an operator that like just doing things as a priority is like chucking a grenade over the fence a lot of times. Like I don't really care that this is my first priority. What Rue really wants to understand is, hey, listen, this vendor only speaks Spanish. We'll never communicate with you via email. We'll only do text messages and never send them a work order on Friday, right? I would never use Frank to replace a hot water tank unless it's gas because his prices for electric are crazy. I always use Tim to replace electric hot water tanks because he's got the best prices in the local area. That's what Rue wants to know. He wants to know the context, right? Remember, move away from AI workflows and understanding that this is a duplication of ourselves for to have total control and the gathering and the relation to context of understanding of how to actually run maintenance predictably. And so what's cool about it is Rue is so confident that once it gets its context, that its ability to sign the correct vendor, that right now of the tens and tens of thousands of work orders that Rue has assigned, it's got a 99% success rate in assigning vendors. If it is incorrect in assigning a vendor and that vendor charges a trip fee, Rue will cover that trip fee. Okay.
Wow.
Right. That's how confident Rue is in doing that.
That's pretty impressive. Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. It just has so much context and AI. Like a team member, a human couldn't possibly keep up with all those facts and information, especially when you think about like after hours emergency, bring on a new team member. It's really hard to like hey, send this to them for electric, not gas. Like that's the type of stuff that you jot down on a notebook, or
That's on a
maybe.
notepad. It's in a Google Doc. That's somewhere. That's lost context. That person is out sick that day. They go on vacation. They leave it. All these pieces. And there's one that I always tell here, Matt. It's one of my favorite stories. And a lot of people have heard me say this. I saw somebody do this. They told Rue through a maintenance note. They said, this resident has been living with us for 35 years. She's over 90 years old. If she ever submits in a maintenance work order, never attempt to triage or troubleshoot it, just thank her for her residency and just dispatch a vendor, let them know we'll get it taken care of for her. Right.
Wow.
That's an operator.
And so the context can go all the way to not just the vendors, but to the specific like tenants in the system
The
or
property, the
property
system.
owners.
Yes. Yeah. Right. All
Oh,
those little tidbits that you know that make you an expert in your community. You can house all these in the context of Rue as the operator and as the control freak. Then you can just sit there and you're like, I am in control of every property and every decision and thing that's going on. Yeah, it's really cool.
okay. So wheels are spinning here. So why do you even need, why do you need a human at all? And on the, like, when do they step in to this? Because
Love the
like
question.
I'm hearing this and I'm just like, I wish I could flash back like 5 years ago and just run my property management company in Indianapolis and not have so many headaches and sleepless nights and like just let this thing work. So
Yeah.
it's that question, and then it's like, okay, does it work? Do like our tenants happy and like owners happy and work gets done and bills get paid and
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, just like anything, right? You're going to have, especially with the technology and as things are evolving, right? We messed up, the first, 25%. We've done over 500 implementations of this, right? We are a seasoned installer of a operator teammate, not AI workflows, right? That's very different. You can go build AI workflows anywhere, right? Helping people hire an AI operator is very different. Okay. So you asked a very specific question there of, you know, what did people do? And this is probably the most exciting thing that I think has actually happened, other than what you're looking at this screen about the fact that, and you can see they got 2 more escalations while they were sitting here. So Root had 2 more questions for them today. This is the most exciting thing. So other than handling the escalations, okay, which is just like, hey, I got a question about this, it's over approval, there's a vendor not responding, are you okay with something, right? Other than chasing tasks, which we've been hiring so much labor to spend on people chasing tasks and updates, okay, which burns people out. Everybody talks about everywhere I go, my maintenance team is a revolving door of people, burnout, too many tasks, right, chasing all this stuff. Now here's what they do today. The first thing that they come do every morning is they come in and look at their escalations. Great, I spent 5 minutes here. Matt's like, okay, you still have 7 hours and 45 minutes left in the workday. What am I paying you to do, right? Then the next thing that they do is everybody should come in, and the most important thing in the morning for every company is there's a new goal now, okay? And as a control freak, I understand that I need to know the health of my entire maintenance department. And the health of my maintenance department does not live inside of my PMS. It lives inside of the text message and the emails and the communications that are happening between all of my vendors and my residents outside of my PMS, okay? Rue's ability as an operator to live and to control those text messages and emails that are happening outside. This isn't an app now, Matt. No one's working in an app, okay? These are working, a resident wants to work by text, a vendor wants to work by text. So now Rue has the ability, and it's monitoring everything that's going on outside and letting that team member know, hey, today I just flagged somebody because they just texted a vendor, hey, this is the second time you told me you were going to be here 30 minutes ago and you're still not here, right?
So
this is a new role that they're working on.
Okay, so now so that's incredible. I'm going to shift the gears a little bit here and think about like the owner of this company, or owners, like the leadership that's not in the role of managing the maintenance. They have someone to do that alongside Rue.
Mm-hmm.
What does the owner think? Like, does the owner check? Like, what do they think about? What do they care about? How do they know? Like, all right, what's the pulse on? Is this going well or not?
So now they have every owner on their phone, because this is a great interface on their phone through the Rue app for the teams. They remember it's not for the vendors and the residents. They won't work through text. They can just come in the morning and they don't have to rely on anybody to tell them what their health of their maintenance department is, right? Not just their residents, everything that's going on. And they can say, hey guys, we have a goal. I want to be between 61 and 80. That's just our goal as a company, right? I come in the morning, we're at 63.5. I know that the health of my maintenance department is going great. I can also see
So
without
that's
anybody.
it. So it's just that one number. It's basically if like resident sentiment, it looks like that. Resident sentiment is high or in the satisfied or very satisfied range, things are working. And
Things are
so if they're
working.
having like a weekly KPI meeting, their maintenance. All right, let's talk about resident sentiment.
Yeah, and the average sentiment score, I always say, is not just sentiment, because like sentiment's like kind of easy. The average thing is looking at and understanding where things are failing. And we're going to talk about this a little bit more about human loop, where things are failing. A resident could be upset because they're frustrated about a bad policy that you have. Okay, right? So we have used human in the loops. And whenever you're making a decision about an AI service provider, there's 2 things that you really need to make sure. There are questions that you ask, right? One, well, actually 3. One, what is the background of their teams and people? Are they from this industry? Okay, I think that's really important. 2, are they workflow focused or are they context focused? Because context is what we use to know. I don't care about the 85% of things that are going right. I care about the 15% of things that are going wrong. Okay, right? And then the third one is the human in the loop, right? So throughout this entire process, we originally started with 55 maintenance coordinators that were working with property managers that we sat and we studied. And then we reverse engineered all those relationships. And we've studied over 2 million workflows and interactions between all these groups. And when AI has failed, signaling to a human in the loop to like understand what's the right pathway or how would they fix that. So now Rue has that intelligence from the human in the loop and those 2 million workflows to understand, oh, wow, a resident's actually expressing frustration about policy that we have here. I'm flagging this. So now that owner and that team, when they come together and they can see that, hey, most of our issues that are coming in from residents, like everybody hates our light bulb policy. Like, can we just change that? Like, it's like 15 people today complain because they're unclear that they're responsible for a light bulb.
Yeah, or like what jumped to my mind was like the thinking back to my property manager days is like the notice, like the heads up on someone's headed that way. Like, do you let them know a day in advance, like 2 hours in advance, both? Like those types of things. It sounds like that's just policy, and that can easily be changed. And then this command center would give sort of that feedback of, hey, these are the consistent things we're seeing where you could maybe adjust. And it seems as if the KPIs you'd care about would be like resident sentiment. It looks like automation rate. So you're probably trying to keep automation rate at a certain minimum level, I assume, and then just try to keep the tenants happy in that experience.
Yeah, totally. I mean, look at this. This is unbelievable, right? This is a company with under 1,000 doors, and this is their automation rate that's crushing right now, right?
Is
They got a
this
little bit.
normal? Is 84.4%? That was last week. So whatever the looks like it's been about that. Yeah, 85% or so. Is that like is this a normal account like what somebody could expect, or is this like take time to build up to?
I would have to say that this account right here is what I would put them in the classifier of like a super operator. Like they're crushing it. Like they are invested. They're working on workflows. Their escalations are low. They're on top of it. And we're going to get into knowledge and learning in a second, which is really important. On average, when you're coming out of the gate, like if you are not in the 85 percentile on average, I can tell you the 4 reasons why you're not like that. And Pablo asks me all the time. He gets me a
Yeah,
call. He's like, "Hey,
what
Dave,
are those? On the
uh,
spot, you threw it out there.
yeah, I mean, number one is I go in there and I'll see that these escalations are sitting there for a longer period of time than they should be. That's number one, right? So, like,
Okay.
there's not engagement. But let's back it up a little bit. The main issue is that the companies that understand that they are hiring an operator, an employee, on average invest 2 times the amount of time into reviewing and teaching their employee in the first 90 days that hit 85%, and the ones that are lower don't invest that much time. Okay. It's 2x. It's just like hiring an employee. And basically, I sit here all the time. I can always tell the difference between somebody that's good at hiring an employee and somebody that maybe needs a little bit of coaching of how to hire an employee.
Well, I kind of want to flag something too. So, like, tell me if this is wrong because this could be wrong, but it doesn't seem like the maintenance coordinator, the traditional, like, we had a local in office guy, and then we had a guy, Carlos. I think he was in Mexico or Colombia. I think it was Mexico. He was exceptional. I don't think that would be the person I'd hire for this role. It's very different. You're not coordinating maintenance. You're kind of the operator orchestrator of the AI agent. Like that's a very different training experience. Like it seems like talk me through that. Is that on like would you agree that's the case or like is it just
I
then
absolutely love it. And I'm trying to communicate to everybody in the industry right now that the role of traditional maintenance coordinator has changed. Okay. And now you are looking for people that are storytellers, right? You're looking for people that know how to pass over context. They're problem solvers. They're people that have deep understanding of the industry. And so I'm seeing a lot of operators sliding into this role. People that previously were passing off coordination to a team of people. They're now just saying, hey, I'm a total control freak. I was only using people to handle coordination. I now have Rue handling coordination for me. So I'm going to live here. Right. And so here's Rue like doing work. Okay.
yeah,
And so,
I was at a hotel in Austin, I think it was Austin, Texas, and it was the first time I ever had a robot deliver food to my room,
yeah.
which is just like super cool. I went down, I actually saw it down there, and then I ordered food, and I was like, "Hey, if I order food, is that robot gonna come up?" And like the manager on the floor is like, "Yeah, that robot's gonna come up." And I'm like, "I can't wait to see this." But it made me think of that because it's like the manager of a like really high quality, I don't know, like 4-star hotel, like you want that guest services kind of like persona that can do the storytelling and can kind of communicate things to owners and tenants. And like that's where like the real skill probably is, more so than just like clicking a button like
Yeah, well,
assign
Matt,
tasks. Because
think of this new job posting, and I tell people a lot of this when I'm meeting with them, like on our dinner roadshow or a one-on-one. The new job posting. I need I need a maintenance coordinator who's not going to be able to answer every phone that comes in, who's going to spend all day reading text messages and emails or notifications and try to figure out where things are going. It's very redundant. You're going to be doing the same thing every day, and you're going to burn out on average within 1.5 years. Okay. There's a maintenance coordinator. If we were truthful about the position, right? Versus I need somebody that's going to be a leader of my AI team agents, okay? That's going to focus on resident experience, reliability of endpoints, right? And help us transfer and build and context the housing, the knowledge of how we run maintenance, okay? Right? Like that's where people need to start shifting. And I think a lot of people are still stuck in the fact of like trying to shove a maintenance coordinator into this role, and they're trying to do tasking, and they're like, it's not working for me. And you're like, it's
Yeah,
right.
you'd almost get in the way. Like if you're coming at this like like you're trying to, be a task manager, or like you're just trying to check to-dos off, you'd like get in the way of the thing that you're implementing. Like
Rue wants you to
you'd
get
get
out of
in
the way.
Rue's
It's
way,
actually
right?
one of the 5 points of failure, and one of the 5 points of failure is interruption. And it goes like this. And I use this analogy. Say you hired a new employee, and that employee was on the phone triaging something with a vendor or with a resident, right? And the maintenance manager walked over, hung up the phone, assigned the vendor, and then walked away. And that new employee was like, but you told me to triage it with the person. I was halfway through your 6 questions. Like, am I in trouble? Did I do something wrong? Like, what did I do? And they're like, well, I just knew the answer. And the person's like, well, I needed to know the answer, right? And now there's job insecurity. They're unsure. Rue's the same way. Rue wants you to come in here, and Rue's like, hey, listen, never before have you ever had visibility into the brain of your maintenance coordinator to
Mm.
understand every decision, which is a duplication of me, of why am I doing the things that I'm doing? And as a control freak, I'm going to be doing what? Good job, good job, good job, good job. You're like me. Or I'm going to go, I want to adjust your behavior.
That's fascinating. Okay, that's amazing. So you're able to oversee the agent's interactions to the message and the logic, and then say, yes, that was how it should have been handled given the like human context and the relational, capital built up with the clients and tenants. And hey, I know this tenant's a 90-year-old woman. It's like all that information, and then going adjust behavior so that that doesn't happen again, or it's handled in a better way in the future.
Correct. And
That's
this is
pretty
where the
magical.
super operators are living. They are living in knowledge, context, and they're living in the is my health of my maintenance department good? Those numbers and metrics that I showed you, right? And then, Rue just has understanding that it is studied every communication between every maintenance coordinator and a property manager. Again, over 2 million workflows, everything that's broken, a human loop has reviewed that, provide context and brought it on. And Rue just knows to provide you all of the questions that you could ever think that you have as to why it's making the decisions that it's making before you even have to ask it. Sure, can you chat? Can you ask it? But Rue's like, I'll just save you the time. I know you're going to ask me, why did I pick this vendor? Right? Like it's going to be right here. And if you don't want me to do that, just adjust my behavior.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
amazing. So
guys,
go
can I
ahead,
jump in
Pablo.
here real quick? So, David, one thing that David's taught me is, one, if you can go back to that screen, Dave. This idea of like understanding how every decision is made is really really important. And I think what he was telling you and what you were asking before, Matt, is kind of like, hey, do I need to become an expert in doing this thing, or am I like how do I onboard? How do I get to know this? And he talked about this idea of double the feedback in the first 90 days. And what isn't obvious when he's showing this, right? Like Dave, that the drop downs on the left show the handled by root piece, right? Like if you're a maintenance coordinator and you're getting used to this, and you're or a maintenance manager or the broker owner that doesn't have a maintenance person and you've been doing it all yourself, the first 30 days or so, you're going to be living in all these things that are usually being handled by Rue, and clicking on that little brain button and being like, why'd you do this? Oh, okay. He did it because of that. Good job. Or, oh, you did it because of that. I want to adjust this thing. And if you spent the first, like the same way as with an employee, if you spent the first 30 days of your new employee's, career with you, reviewing every single thing that the employee did and giving them a thumbs up or a correction on all of them, within 30 days, you've moved to closing that drop down that says handled by Rue, and now only dealing with these unresolved escalations, which is when the employee's like, oh, cool, you trust me now, but on these ones, I still need your help. And that's when the shift of behavior starts to really happen. And in that, David, maybe you can talk through that. Brain tells you the logic and the reasons why, but if you're looking through those communications, you see this was a text, this was an email, like it'll also show the phone call. So now everything is there. And all that, over time, you start moving from like in these individual work orders giving feedback to that maintenance department score, where now you understand how all this stuff is happening and you're jumping in when people are, as something's bubbling up. I call it putting out embers before they become fires, right? Like as things are popping up, you see that thing like, oh, here's somebody that looks like they might not be happy about it. They get to double click. And then now that operator that's managing this new operator understands, man, I can tell that this resident is upset that they haven't gotten an ETA. That might be because the vendor hasn't responded, or it might be because we don't have a policy that the vendor does this thing. But now the human is evaluating those things and understanding that everything is interconnected and everything is all within view in this one platform, so that you don't have to like do the work order dive and check a bunch of different things. I just wanted to kind of
Yeah,
like
let's
state
let's
that.
make that clear real quick, and then Matt, one of the things that's really cool to see as we study behavior is the amount of people that have been migrating over to spending a lot more time with Rue here than and because Rue is giving them access to all the information that every control freak operator ever wanted to have. And that's in the 50 up to 50% of communications for some people, and a lot higher if the company is using all 1099 vendors that are happening outside of your PMS system. Rue's now like, this all lives here. The SMSs, the emails, if there was a phone call, you can listen to it. So they don't have to go dive and search for these, and it organizes it by the owner, and organizes by the vendor, it organizes by the resident. It's going to it organizes all the photos. And so when a person comes here, they have the ability to go really understand now at the employee level, like, how is Rue working with my owner, right? How
Yeah,
is Rue
that's
working with the resident and the vendor at this level? Yeah.
yeah, and I saw a good question in the chat, and I was thinking the same thing earlier. So it's like, is this going to just handle the general maintenance, or can this handle a more complex, not even complex, but like, can it handle a turn?
Yeah, I mean, people just write in and prompt turns, like, hey, I'm giving this turn to the vendor. Here's the 12 things I need to have it get done. When it's done, please make sure that this is assigned to, John the cleaner as a notification. So the guys that come done, cool. And Rue's like, cool, you're done the job. All right, hey, John, you're up next. They're done, and you have to ready to rock and roll. So it handles this isn't just basic one-on-one stuff. There's very complicated work orders that are coming through every single day that Rue has the capacity of handling it just like an operator.
And would
So
that be
David,
position?
you didn't say yes or no then, right? The answer is yes. It can handle like a make ready maintenance project. All you have to do is tell it what you want it to do and tell it why.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So like Pablo, like everybody, we had like process documentation, and we had our turn process, and it handed off from the move out inspection. So we went move out inspection into the actual implementation of the turn. The move out inspection, you're going to like handle some of the offboarding of the tenant, and then security deposit stuff. And it was like, all right, what needs to be done before this thing's listed? And sometimes it could be super simple, like, hey, we need to clean, touch up paint, a couple little small things, just like a series of 2 or 3 little simple things. Other times it was like, oh shit, we had a smoker in here. We should have caught that. Dang it, that's a bigger issue. And then it could like, they damaged they put a hole in the wall here, and I don't know, some other issue in another place, and it gets more complex with the turn. Obviously, like it seems like escalations could just be more frequent in those situations. Like, is the reality, or maybe I'm wrong, and maybe with the right like documentation of what you expect and the right vendor network and all those if thens and all that
Yeah.
logic,
If
it could
you
actually
went to
just handle it all.
if you went to the property and you wrote down all the things that needed to be done at the property and who was the vendor that was responsible for them, right? Like say you just did that in your inspection, you just wrote a prompt, right?
Right. And yeah, and I definitely I get that on like
Yeah. And then you just create the work order to the prompt, and Rue's like,
and
cool.
it'll handle the ordering though. Like it'll handle the series of if thens. Like you can't, you're not gonna clean it before you paint it, or
This
like
is the sequence of the things I need you to get done. John's got to go first. He's got done. When he's done, Frank's got it fired. Like, yes. So You
And
just,
that works the same way no matter what property management software you guys are connected to. So if it's Rent Manager, or Appfolio, or Rentvine, or Propertyware, or
yeah,
whatever.
because it's not software dependent. That's just the way that you're writing the prompt when you're giving it to Rue inside of, it's just a work order, right? You're
Yeah.
writing what the work order flow is going to be.
Yeah. And then some of that info is going to kind of map back to the, or be documented in the property management software. Like, I guess we haven't
Every
gotten to
single
like
thing that
building.
you see is mapped back into the PMS systems. And that's one of the amazing things. Every piece of information that you see, every communication, a summary at the end, the amount of notation that Rue puts back into a work order in the PMS system as the legal thing, it would take humans a lifetime to try to catch up to the amount of
Yeah.
documentations and summaries. So,
I remember that being like 80% of maintenance coordination was actually just like the organization of that stuff. Yeah. Is it
I,
pretty? I mean, I don't mean to like post you up on this question, but like, I think it matters is how often does it make mistakes in the documentation, or does it require like a human to kind of step in on some of the administrative, is there someone needs to come in and kind of double check the things that, like, because a lot of that's going to map to $2,800 turn bill to the owner that may be kind of a problem client, and then a distribution goes out and there's no money there, and they get an owner statement, and then it's like, does the administrative piece of that, does it, like, where does Roost stop, and then like where does like a human have to like start, I guess.
so Rue stops that when the work is done, it attaches the invoice and the photo documentations to the work order, marks the work order as completed, and then that company's accounting team then takes it and moves it over to build.
Gotcha. Okay. So Rue's not sending the bill to the owner. It's getting it prepped. So that's kind of where it stops.
Rue can send estimates to owners. The decision is amazing. Wait till everybody sees the decision. It's absolutely amazing. It's Rue understands that, the majority of all owners are asking for three bids just because they don't trust that you're giving them the right price the first time, and you have no way to show that you actually are, right? Like Rue was like I knew it, but when Rue was telling me like, man, this industry's got a real issue with with owner approvals. They do not trust anybody when it comes to money
Yeah.
spent. And it's like
Dude,
they ask the same 7 questions every single time. So why don't we just solve this?
the three bids thing's hilarious because I feel like AI now has changed. Vendoroo, big part of this in our industry, but like, yeah, AI has changed three bids, because three bids is because your client doesn't trust you.
Yeah.
It's like our industry, there's a lot of, I feel like a lot of property owners have quite a negative connotation to property management, and they don't trust the property manager, even if they don't say it. And so they're like, show me three bids because I want to make sure you give me the lowest price. And it's like, well, wait a second. If the data's, you already know it's the lowest price, actually what you're doing is just causing a bottleneck that's going to piss people off and actually cost you a
Residents
bunch of money.
frustrated. Somebody's got to go out there three more times. What if I already told you that the price that I gave you was like 3% on average with everybody else is paying? And oh, by the way, 16% of all owners experience the same issue in the last 30 days. So you're not alone. You're in the rental industry. Oh, and by the
Yeah.
way, your resident has said on the last 6 months, they were frustrated about this about 6 times, and that's flagging the potential of the fact that this may be a churn risk, which is going to cost you like $5,000 instead of just paying the $800 now to fix it, right? Like this is the guidance
Well,
that an estimate should provide.
I feel like property managers should be, if you're in a sales, marketing, business development position, you should be selling. I would be selling against my competitors who aren't using this type of tool. And I would use that example. I'd be like, hey, if you're talking, yeah, if you're like talking
Yeah,
to the, go ahead,
yeah,
Pablo.
Matt. Yeah, I was just gonna say that's been a big aha thing for us because something that we noticed early on is that our clients grow on average like 30% once they start using Vendoroo. And we're like, oh, we're super proud of this because it means that we've taken them out of like the day-to-day business and they can go close more doors and do these things. But what I've started seeing is I've had client after client tell me that when they're in the middle of their presentation and they're like, in my fees 10%, and somebody's like, oh, what about this guy that's 5%? They're like, well, listen, we use AI to make sure that your maintenance spend isn't, like isn't unnecessary. And they'll like whip out the phone, they'll call their AI voice line and pretend that a sink is leaking, watch them, watch the owners go through like, oh my God, this is an AI thing that's doing it, and paint the picture of like, imagine if this is at 11 o'clock at night, a human answering this call is just trying to get off the phone and send a plumber. Look at what the AI is doing. It's asking this, it's troubleshooting that, it's controlling these costs, and they're showing it all happen, and they're showing it happen live. And then at that point, the owner's just like, Oh, okay. I get it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, in our
And they're
data,
using it in their sales calls.
Yeah, and Pablo, in our data that we're seeing, so that a lot of our property management customers are using our surveys. So they're surveying their clients, asking, "Hey, are we doing a good job or not? Overall satisfaction. Would you recommend maintenance, leasing, reporting, account, like all these questions, right?" And so what's been fascinating because we also know the cost structure, and so we looked at thousands of survey responses and over 10,000 property management companies in this analysis, and we saw that there was basically zero correlation from like the client's NPS and satisfaction to the cost of that property manager.
Mhm.
Almost zero. Cost doesn't matter with happy clients. Happy clients, if you got clients asking you about what your cost is, there's some other symptom in play, which is probably, something related to maintenance or leasing or reporting or communication, right? It's not actually cost.
David, I think this is a good opportunity to just talk about this idea of like when you're seeing response times and those kinds of things. Those are the real metrics that we're really starting to see that drive happiness, right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Now, when you're talking about flipping back into the operator mindset and understanding how Rue is analyzing everything, and I always talk about the things that jump out to me, right? Like, okay, we're looking at the total communications that Rue has sent out here in the last 30 days for this client, right? And the thing that is really amazing to me is that time after time after time after time, and I'm trying to stress this to everybody in the industry, I needed an operator that worked 24/7 because it was killing me to try to do it myself. And I could not hire enough staff at an affordable price to do it 24/7. Rue solves that answer. Okay. Stop thinking about maintenance coordinators from a cost from 9 to 5. We are in a 24/7 industry. We need people 24/7. And Rue is telling you, and we see it across the board consistently, 50% of hire of all work and work order communications are happening when your offices are closed. Resident satisfaction is spiking through the roof because they cannot believe, and I see it all the time. I didn't expect you guys to be open. Rue's like, and people name it. It could be Maya, Frank, Tim, whatever. Tim's like, yeah, I'm always here. It's like it's all good. I work all the time. And the resident's like, oh, cool. And I tell this one story all the time. Resident, 10 o'clock at night, 4th of July, the most dead zone in the entire space of the history of the world. 10 o'clock, 4th of July on a Friday. Resident sends in a work order. I can't do laundry. It's urgent. I have kids, second shift. This is an emergency. Rue says, give me the make and model. She sends her the make and model. I see you have an older washing machine. I can tell that it's a top loader. Do me a favor. Use some hot water. Clean off that little switch. It gets built up with detergent over time and it doesn't get pressed down all the way. I bet you that solves the issue. Lady comes back in tears. Oh my gosh, you guys are the absolute best. Was able to get laundry done for the kids. Have a great weekend. Like I got goosebumps just thinking about that.
Yeah.
Right. Because that I would have taken that phone call maybe because the resident was pissed off at 10 o'clock at night, or she would have been frustrated at 10 o'clock at night, and that would have been a weekend issue for me or something else.
Well, so I've got an idea. Here's my idea. If you ask a property manager, what's your number one thing that you care about? I think 9 out of 10, or maybe more property managers, are going to say growth. We want more doors. We just want more doors. And I think there's a disconnect between being able to communicate that story you just told to those respective new clients, so you can sign more doors, get more referrals, more
That's it,
growth.
man. That's
I
it.
think we can surface that, so a little bit of a shameless plug to propertymanager.com. We need to surface that on propertymanagement.com profiles for every property manager for free. Like we need to surface review sentiment or the resident sentiment. We need to surface the after hours communication time. Vendoroo customers can start using that to close more doors, not
Love
just
it.
to keep the doors that they have. So that's my pitch, but let's keep it rolling. This is fun.
All right, awesome. And then a lot of data here. This is for the control freak. This is for the nerds. I'm not going to go through all this, but I'm going to tell you what the sum of all this is, right? When you're talking about, well, what does the new person spend their time on? If Rue's doing all the coordination, what does my person spend their time on? And we all know that the most important thing is endpoint reliability in this business, right? We need to ensure that the people that are accepting our work orders are good to go, right? So you can
Yeah.
see
So
now.
when you said endpoint reliability a couple times, explain that to me like I'm 10 years old.
Okay. I don't care how amazing your system is. If a work order goes out to a person that the system is not like 90% confident that's going to accept it, you have a failure, potential failure to happen, right? Endpoint reliability, when I say that, I'm really talking about vendors that are accepting work from our company, because without the vendors, as we know, property management company falls apart,
Yeah,
right? Because we have
the AI is pointless if you don't have somebody on the endpoint doing the work and like
it's pointless, right?
responding and going out and fixing it. Yeah.
So now we can sit here and that person now, right? So they're reviewing the health. We know that. We talked about that. Now they're coming over here and they're just looking of like, okay, who's getting flagged as like even down to an owner that says that they're responsible for the work. And they're like, but they only take it 38% of the time. What do I see here? I see that as an opportunity to take that maintenance back from the owner and a potential, you know, I don't care if it's a revenue stream or a better service or whatever, but I can show them that through tenant sentiment, 6 of my lowest scores are linked to your properties, are linked to your vendors, are linked to your people. I don't have to argue with about that. I'm just showing you the data. You're thinking you're saving $100, but you're churning your residents on average 1.5 years, where everyone else is staying with me for 5 years. Let me handle your
Yeah.
maintenance.
Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah.
Right.
A lot of people just fire that client and because they don't have the data to sort of position it in a way that they can communicate clearly.
Yeah. So I
You
don't
still
always
might end
see
up
this
losing that
as
client in that conversation, but like you're probably going to anyway. Now you're, I mean, it's, the person overseeing this is probably a lot happier because they have less escalations to deal with.
totally right. And so, I know we're coming here to the end of the time. I want to make sure, Pablo, that we have some opportunities if anyone has any questions or Matt has any final thoughts. But Matt, Rue is an operator, and what that client who just we have a testimonial from our client today, and they said that they were very reluctant to onboard a system because they were worried about what it would take to do, right, to put this system in. Okay, that's a valid fear. And their comment, I was just reviewing it, we're getting ready to put out some marketing on it, said, we could not believe that the next day when we logged in, everything was just working and the operator was just working. And we were like, oh, it was that simple. I'm like, yes, it's like you hired an operator and they sat down at the desk and they just started working. And like, that's what you would expect from like a really highly professional person that you hired. You wouldn't expect them 30 days to start working. Yeah, sure, they're gonna have to come and ask you some questions, but they're like, well, I know how to do 85% of this. This is fine. I just need to figure out the next 15% that you need to teach me of how the company runs in the next 90 days. That's Rue.
Yeah. And what does it cost?
Clients pay anywhere between like 450 on average, and then we have people that are using our human in loop services, which is really cool for things that AI cannot do. AI cannot submit a home warranty. AI can't work with the city. AI still is not good being on a phone call from emergency services. Like, you need humans in these roles, and we have people that bring that cost up to $9. So anywhere in that range is that built. And the way that I tell everybody to look at that, take the total number of hours in a month, take the price of your plan, divided by the total number of the works. That's your hourly rate for that employee that you're hiring. It's no longer 9 to 5, Monday through Friday.
So a 1,000 door company, roughly, at least $4,500 a month, like per door per month. Is that the? Yep.
Yeah. So say they're paying $4,500. Do the math. There's about 730 working hours in a month. Do the math, and you come out that you're probably paying what, $5 an hour for the employee.
Yeah, I think, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the elephant in the room, which we probably don't have enough time to talk about with 2 minutes left here, is going to be like the math makes a massive amount of sense, but it doesn't make sense if you have a team of 7 with a 1,000 door company and you expect to keep a team of 7 because you don't need a team of 7. So
That's the
there's
new
some
number.
realities here that are at play. But I think that's sort of the elephant in the room. I think a lot of people want to avoid, but I'd rather just say, hey, if you're delaying a decision like this because you don't think AI is going to, like, it's a fad or like it's happening. Like this is very clear to me. This, a property management company in 2 or 3 years that's crushing it is going to be doing, leasing, all the systems are going to be run with this type of workflow, but it's going to cause, people being displaced in terms of jobs, and you're going to need to reassign people to other things. And that's a factor here. And I'm sure you guys get that question a good amount.
We do. And, and I'll just tell you another testimony that I got today when I was reviewing it that came through is, when is the last time in this industry, right? Like, when you bring on Rue, you can basically double your doors without hiring any new people right off the bat, right? The numbers are coming out clear. 1,500 in the SFR community, especially with in-house maintenance technicians, one person for every 1,500 doors, easy, right? So how about this? How about the fact that in a labor sensitive position, that these jobs are turning into, like this one person said, I just gave my people that I have running, because I don't need as much as with Rue, I just increased all their salaries.
Yeah,
and
employee benefits.
you
Yeah.
took away their burnout. Like
Well,
win-win.
here's the other thing too. So I know we're coming up on time. So last kind of comment on this. I think it's a good one though. Maybe a lot of companies I talk to, like they don't have $1,000 companies. There's a bunch of them out there. Maybe people listening right now that they don't have a marketing lead. They use just like a third party for marketing because they can't. The margins don't support it. Well, maybe they do, right?
Love
Because
it.
one thing that can't be like completely displaced by AI is like your marketing and sales. Like and maybe that starts to become more of a moat competitive advantage. Yeah, I've got like 50 other questions, but
I can see, I
this
see.
has
Yeah,
been
yeah.
fun.
I'll get to fly out and we'll get to sit down and we could talk about so much, but it's ruse and operator. Remember, context, human in the loop matters. Work with people that are from the industry. And I look forward to giving anybody a personal demo if you want to come see it for yourself. I'm happy to walk you through it and show you what people are doing. I'm impressed and amazed every day. So
Yeah, guys, I love the dialogue. I love seeing you guys go back and forth. I really appreciate the 40 plus people that have been here for over an hour here, right? Like taking the time out of your day to do this. It's really, really awesome to be informed. We have a couple of questions here in the chat that I think I've been answering in the chat, but we can get back to people with it. Ashley is asking if Rue can work with Apply too. Yes, we have plenty of clients that work with Apply as well, and Rue, as well as the inspector and all these other things. You can do that. Matt, final question that I would have for you is I thought that the big takeaway from the propertymanagement.com report was that we are now at an inflection point of the maintenance platform being a source of truth to a source of action and something that's doing it for you. I'm wondering, based on like the data that you saw in that report and what you're seeing here and what the platform can actually do, can you contextualize kind of like what the report said based on what you just see, what you're seeing right now, Rue doing that David just showed you?
Yeah, I mean, I think the big takeaway I had, and this has validated it 100%, which was we're at an inflection point in the industry and a lot of different like segments of the operations of a property management business, but specifically with maintenance, where it's either you're going to run maintenance yourself with people and processes, kind of the traditional way, and you might augment that maybe with some AI, or you're going to move towards these AI systems leading your maintenance, leading your leasing, leading your workflows, and you really have like two paths. It's either you choose path A or path B. And I kind of called that shot a few months ago and said I think we all need to start choosing path B. And then my quest was to go, is this real? Like how far along are we in the maintenance and leasing specifically where this can be possible? And from what I've seen today, it's possible and it's happening and people need to start taking action. There's going to be some fallout maybe with some people and some changes, but like change isn't always bad. I think change can be good. Get a lot of time back, a lot of headaches removed. So that's not a like, hey, gotta choose Vendoroo, but I'm here with you guys and I'm like pumped up and I feel like it's something people should absolutely consider.
Love it. Love it. Anybody that wants to take a look at this, take it for a test drive, go to our website, vendoroo.ai, book a demo, you pick a time. Our team will talk you through your current conditions and kind of like how to think through this thing, right? The different packages that Dave talked about are meant for different operating styles, different team styles, different outcomes that we can. We can have our AI analyze all of your work orders for the past couple of years, your PMA and your leasing agreement, and give you a diagnosis of kind of like where you sit and what level of automation you're ready for and what we would do to get you there. And like David said, it's all done for you, right? Our team of humans in the loop will normalize this for you to kick you off. And the moment that you turn on your AI employee, it's already doing things for you. And at that point, you're coaching, right, Dave?
That's it, man. Remember, be a coach, be a control freak, and help your maintenance coordinators know they have a new position. It's a lot funner than chasing tasks. That's all I got to say, Pablo. Matt, great to see you.